The ideal watch collection is something that a lot of watch enthusiasts try to achieve. Even I've thought in the past that a proper watch collection has to meet certain criteria, whether it's certain types of watches, a certain amount of watches, or even certain brands. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that there's one thing that determines all of these factors that doesn't get a lot of mention, and that is your lifestyle. Two different people can have vastly different lifestyles that would require vastly different types of watches to meet their everyday needs. So today we're going to be looking at two different watch collections, one of them being my own and the other belonging to a friend of mine, and you'll see very quickly what I'm talking about. And while we explore these collections, we'll talk about these three different factors that are all determined by your lifestyle and how they can help you determine your ideal watch collection. But before we get into it, be sure to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. We just hit 100 subscribers, so please help me keep that momentum going for more videos just like this one. So the first thing you may notice when looking at these two collections is one of them is a very diversified type of collection with much more uniquely styled pieces, while the other is a much more uniformly styled collection with much more similarly designed pieces. You'll also notice that my collection has a variety of different brands mixed in, while my friend's collection has only one brand with a gifted Tissot thrown in there as well. And the reason for this is because I enjoy watches as a hobby where I try to find different brands with uniquely styled pieces to meet a wide variety of needs, while my friend enjoys watches mainly as fashion pieces to go with what he's wearing to work on a day-to-day basis. So it makes sense that he would have quite a few of these Pagani designs that not only match what he's wearing and the setting he's in, but he also doesn't have to worry about banging it up while at work since it's a cheaper homage style brand. Now, the same cannot be said about a few of my watches like my Brew Supermetric. Not only would this watch stand out with its bright colors and eye-catching shape, but I would also be worried about scratching it or banging it up since it's a $500 watch. So when building your collection, try to focus on what wants and needs you're trying to fill. While my friend needs watches that go with his work attire, I want watches that are unique and possibly even tell a story. And that brings us to our next topic, which is brands. So which brand should you look at when you start building your collection? Well, again, thinking about lifestyle, someone whose lifestyle revolves around outdoor activity, they might be interested in something like a Casio for their rugged and durable design. Someone that works as a pilot might be interested in something like the Bulova Lunar Pilot. And when it comes down to it, there really is a brand and a price point for basically everything. And that might get you to wondering, should you build a watch collection with one solid brand that you really like, or should you diversify a bit? And honestly, I really think it doesn't matter. I like to diversify because, again, I like unique watches and I want something for every type of occasion. But there's nothing wrong with a one brand type of collection. The only advice I would really give about brands is to try to stay away from fashion brands. And the main reason I warn you of this is because most fashion brands are made with cheaper materials along with mass manufactured Chinese movements. These brands won't last very long, they won't keep time very well, and they'll usually have some sort of components that end up breaking sooner than you'd like. Some brands I would recommend are brands like Seiko, Timex, Casio, even brands like Orient, Citizen, and Bulova. Now, all of those brands are starter brands, and when it comes to moving up from starter brands to entry luxury level brands like Hamilton, Tissot, or even Grand Seiko, that's where we move on to our next topic, which is budgeting. So I want to make it clear that we're talking about budgeting and not a budget. And the reason for that is because if there's a watch that you really want, then you shouldn't be held back by a budget. So for example, if you told yourself that your budget is $200, but you find a watch that you want for $300, then you wouldn't be able to get it and you'd start looking for something else because it's out of your budget. However, if you instead tell yourself that you're going to start budgeting to save up for the watch you want, then there's really nothing holding you back from getting it except for a little bit of time. And if you're budgeting appropriately, then it shouldn't take you that much time to save up and buy it. And not only that, but budgeting and saving for the watch you want also gives you more time to really think about whether that's the right watch for you. It also builds good habits when it comes to saving and not impulse buying. And you might be thinking, how does one's lifestyle fit into this? Well, if your lifestyle consists of you eating out every day, getting Starbucks all the time, and kind of just spending money all loosey-goosey, then it's going to be a little harder for you to start budgeting and saving up for the watch you want. And when it comes to watch collecting, you really have to kind of figure out what's important to you. If you want to start moving up to those luxury type of brands, then you may have to make some lifestyle changes in order to be able to start budgeting to afford them. And for me personally, I used to not follow this rule. I used to set a budget and find a watch that kind of fits the needs that I'm looking for within that budget and then go ahead and buy it. However, now that my collection is a little more sizable, I tend to just kind of keep my eyes out for something that really catches my eye. And then if it's, out of my price range, I'll tend to start budgeting and saving up for it and then end up buying it. But over time, kind of like me, you may notice that your collection is getting just a little bit out of hand when it comes to its size. And that'll bring us to our last topic, which is size of collection. So most guys own either one watch or 47. I personally think around 5 to 6 watches is kind of the sweet spot, and this really fits if you fall into the category of an enthusiast and not a collector. If you do fall into that category, one thing I would recommend is to buy a smaller watch box, one with like 5 to 6 spots in it. Even I have fallen victim to buying a larger watch box and wanting to fill it up as quickly as possible just so I don't have those empty spots in there. Now, if you are one of those people with nearly 47 watches, clearly you're a collector, and there's not much I could say to get you to stop buying more. Not that I would want to. But one thing I would advise is to not waste your money on those flex pieces that look flashy and may be out of your typical price range. This is where budgeting and kind of giving yourself some time to think about it really helps out. And those flashier pieces will end up getting less wrist time than most of your other watches just because they are flashy and they don't really make for a good daily type of watch. And that's one thing I've even found happening to myself. With a more sizable collection that I have, some of them are a little flashier and I bought them thinking that, I would wear them more often. However, I do end up usually wearing the same select few of watches, more daily style type of watches on a regular basis rather than those more flashier, more expensive ones. Now, if I had to pick 5 watches of mine to keep and get rid of the rest, here they are and here's why. So my Hamilton Jazzmaster Open Heart is the first one that I would keep for sure. It's a beautiful dress watch for those nice occasions, and it's the first watch that I ever bought, so it does have sentimental value. Along with that, my Brew Supermetric with its fun and quirky design for those fun summer days. This one's also a conversation starter for those who notice it since it's such a unique piece. Thirdly, my Watch Dives WD0005B Ice Crack in Gradient Green. Now, while that is a risky name for it, this one my dad gave me, so it does have sentimental value, but I also just love the unique green dial on this one. I would say I really am a dial guy.
Dial guy. I'm a dial guy because I'm a dial guy.
Lastly would be 2 of my Casios. Anyone following this channel knows that I love Casio. I really think that they can do it all at this point. And for these 2 here, of course, the Casio Edifice Automatic, the first automatic ever made by Casio, and also one of my favorite and cleanest looking watches. And then of course the tough and rugged yet stylish G-Shock for any outdoor or rugged activities. So those are the 5 watches that I would keep if I could only keep 5 of mine. Now, if you're a collector, then clearly you're going to be buying and keeping more than 5 watches. And if that's the case, just try to follow those budgeting and brand tips that I laid out, just so that you don't end up wasting your hard-earned money on something that won't last you or something that won't really fill the need that you're trying to fill. So those are my tips and tricks for building the ideal watch collection. Now tell me, did I answer any of your questions? Did I help you in any way figure out your ideal watch collection? Let me know in the comments, and as always, like the video if you liked it, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for notifications on when I drop my videos. And until next time, I'm out.